They say the wind always finds the weakest parts of a house, of a town, of a person. I used to think that was just a saying until the day I carried the HOA president out of her own collapsing house while she screamed for help. The same woman who once fined me for painting my shutters the wrong shade of beige. The storm tore through our neighborhood that night, but what it really destroyed was the illusion that rules could protect anyone. I moved to Cedar Ridge after my wife died, just me and my daughter Riley. She was 12, too smart for her age, and somehow always saw things before I did. The realtors called it a peaceful community tucked away outside Amarillo. Quiet, clean, picture-perfect lawns, everyone smiling just enough to hide how bored they were. The kind of place that worshipped control. That control had a face Karen Haskins, president of the HOA, always in her pastel blazer and fake sweet smile. She ran the neighborhood like a dictatorship in pearls. Once fined a single mom $250 because her toddler's tricycle was left on the porch. The woman's husband was deployed. Karen didn't care. Rules are rules, she said. She hated me from the start, said my storm shutters ruined the aesthetic. I'd spent years in FEMA. I knew how fast peace could split apart. So yeah, I had reinforced shutters, a backup generator, and a stocked storm cellar. People called it paranoia. I called it experience. Riley just called it Dad's hobby. But that Saturday morning, while I was sipping coffee, Riley looked up from her sketchbook and said, "Dad, the trees aren't moving right." I froze. She was right. The air was too still, heavy, like the sky was holding its breath. By afternoon, the wind had begun its low hum. Clouds stacked over the plains. My gut twisted the way it always did before a storm. I checked the radar rotation forming west of town. No alert, no sirens. Of course not. The HOA was busy posting about lawn edging compliance. I printed my own flyers, storm prep checklists with emergency numbers, taped them to doors, dropped them in mailboxes. That's when Karen pulled up in her white Explorer window, down smile, sharp as glass. "Mr. Cole," she said, "are we doing the whole Chicken Little thing again?" I told her what I saw on the radar, upper-level rotation, counterclockwise gusts, real signs. She laughed. Actually laughed. Then pointed at my house where Riley peeked through the window. "You've scared your daughter so much she doesn't even play outside anymore. You want everyone else to panic too." My jaw locked. "She's not afraid of nature," I said. "She's afraid of ignorance." That wiped her smile for half a second before she snapped a photo of me. "Unauthorized postings are a violation. Expect a fine." Then she drove off, leaving exhaust and arrogance behind. By evening, I sealed the shutters, locked the garage. Karen was hosting a wine night on her porch. The air outside felt like a loaded gun. I kept thinking the wind finds the weak spots, and ours had a name. When I woke up the next morning, it was quiet again, too quiet. The radar showed tightening rotation, a textbook tornado signature, but the HOA app said breezy weather, no cause for alarm. 50 likes under Karen's name. That was the moment I realized nobody was coming to save us. At noon, she called a board meeting to address community disruptions. I showed up anyway. The clubhouse was packed with retirees and plastic smiles. Karen stood at the front, her voice syrupy. "We're aware of unapproved materials distributed by a resident spreading unnecessary fear." Eyes turned to me. I stood up. "There's a pressure trough forming west of the ridge. If we don't prepare, someone's going to die." Karen chuckled. "This isn't your rescue unit anymore, Mr. Cole. We can't have doomsday flyers every time the wind blows." Laughter rippled around the room. That hit harder than I expected. For a moment, I wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe the trauma of old disasters made me paranoid. Riley deserved peace, not another bunker drill. I almost sat down, ready to apologize, until the back door slammed open and Riley burst in out of breath. "Dad, come look." We ran outside. The western sky was a bruised green wall crawling toward us, the kind of color that doesn't belong on Earth. That's when the doubt burned away. I knew what was coming. I called 911, busy line. County Storm Center monitoring, not elevating advisory, so I did what I'd been trained to do. I switched on my emergency radio, broadcasted on the ham channel, heavy rotation near Cedar Ridge. Possible touchdown imminent. Then I went door to door again. No flyers this time, just my voice. Some listened. Most didn't. When I reached Karen's house, she was still on the porch sipping iced tea. "We're having book club," she said, smiling like the sky wasn't about to eat us alive. I pointed west. "That's not rain, Karen." She rolled her eyes. "You're exhausting." I walked away. I didn't know it would be the last time I saw her house standing. By late afternoon, the wind howled. No sirens, no alerts. I told Riley time to go underground. We packed the cellar flashlights, water, her stuffed owl. Before closing the hatch, I left it cracked in case neighbors came running. Then I sprinted through the streets, pounding on doors. The old couple on Maple Drive, the Sanders family down the block. "You've got minutes, not hours," I yelled. My phone buzzed, a new HOA post. "Please disregard tornado rumors. Enjoy your evening. Karen H." My blood boiled. The roar came first low and endless, like a freight train dragging the sky behind it. Trees bent in half. I turned and saw it, a black wall swallowing the horizon. I ran. The Sanders were in the cellar, the old couple climbing down. Riley held the hatch open. "Where's Karen?" she shouted. I looked back. She was still on her porch, frozen eyes wide. I cursed and ran across the street. "Move!" I yelled. "It's not real," she murmured. Then her wine glass exploded in her hand. The wind hit like a truck. I grabbed her wrist, dragged her as the air screamed around us. Patio chairs flew past. Shingles sliced through the air. We dove into the cellar just as the hatch slammed shut. The world above us roared like the end of time. The walls shook, dust rained down. Riley clutched my arm. Karen sobbed in the corner, whispering prayers between screams. And I, God help me, I felt nothing but anger. Anger that this could have been avoided, that the rules and pride of one woman nearly killed us all. When the storm finally passed, silence settled thick and wrong. I opened the hatch. The sky was gray with floating insulation like snow made of someone's memories. Half the street was gone. Karen's house was a splintered pile. She climbed out behind me, saw the wreckage, and made a sound I'll never forget. Not a scream, just a broken hum of disbelief. I let her have that moment. The next hours were a blur, helping neighbors setting up triage treating wounds. No sign of the HOA. By nightfall, the county finally arrived. 5 touchdowns across the area, ours the worst. I should have felt vindicated, but all I felt was tired. 2 days later, the HOA sent me an email, a $750 fine for inciting panic. I laughed until it hurt, printed the email, and nailed it to a post in my yard with a sign, "This is what saving lives gets you." Neighbors started stopping by, whispering, some nodding quietly. One of them, Rick the treasurer, said, "That's a hell of a thing to fine you for." People saw what you did, and that's when I realized the storm wasn't the only thing that had shifted. The neighborhood had too. Weeks later, I rebuilt impact-resistant windows, reinforced shutters. When the HOA sent another warning for unapproved modifications, I told them to take their fines and shove them straight through their visual harmony. Brenda, one of the board members, tried to argue, but I reminded her that her niece was alive because of my cellar. They left without a word. That night, someone taped a petition to my door, special election to remove Karen Haskins, 17 signatures growing by the hour. Then another storm rolled in, same eerie silence. This time people watched the sky differently. When I turned on my homemade siren, a rewired school alarm, and a hunting horn doors started closing, families moved fast. And when I looked across the street, I saw Karen again. She didn't mock me this time, just whispered, "It's not supposed to be here." I said, "Storms don't wait for permission." We ran together to the cellar. The wind came like vengeance, tearing what was left of our illusions apart. When it finally cleared, Karen was the first out. She collapsed in the street, clawing at debris, screaming her nephew's name. He'd been helping her board up the windows trapped under what was left of a porch. I didn't think just dug hands bleeding on splintered wood. We pulled him out alive. Karen collapsed beside him, sobbing. I told him we had time. I told him you were overreacting. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. News spread fast, videos, interviews, the petition, the fine. HOA fines hero for saving lives went viral. Within a week, Cedar Ridge wasn't a suburb anymore. It was a headline, and in the middle of it stood Karen, stripped of power, facing the people she'd ruled. At the emergency meeting, she stepped up to the mic, voice trembling. "I was wrong," she said. "I let pride blind me, and it nearly cost lives." Then she resigned. I watched from the back, arms crossed. Riley leaned against me and whispered, "Is it over?" I didn't answer. Because storms don't just end, they change shape. Karen lost her title, but what the wind took from her was worse, the illusion of control. And me, I didn't feel triumphant, just still. The kind of stillness that comes after everything fragile has been blown away, and all that's left is truth. The wind doesn't care about rules or paint colors, it only finds weakness. And sometimes it takes a storm to show you who's really holding the walls up.